Hello and welcome to So What You're Saying Is. I'm Peter Whittle. Now, my guest today is a comedian. Alistair Williams has played at Up the Creek, the Comedy Store and the Edinburgh Festival, but he's perhaps become better known to a wider number of people through a recent routine he did on Brexit and the Burger King. So before I speak to him today, let's just quickly take a look at this clip which went absolutely viral.
Right, my friend is from another country and she came in, she was like, can you please explain what everyone is annoyed about with this whole Brexit thing? I said, look, imagine if you and 10 of your friends were in a Burger King. Right, and you said, listen, who wants to leave the Burger King? And 6 people were like, we want to leave the Burger King. And then somebody who didn't want to leave the Burger King was like, I'll get us out there. I'll have a word with the manager. I'll get us a deal. It's like, do we need a deal? Come on, no, you can't leave without a deal, I'll get a deal. You want to leave? Yeah, I'm going to get us a deal, right? So she goes to talk to the manager. She comes back 2 years later. She's been trying to leave. The door says push. She's pulling that thing. Can't get us out. She goes, great news. I've done us a deal to leave. What's the deal? We've got to pay the manager £40 million. And then we get to leave, technically, yes. What do you mean, technically? Well, physically, we'll still be in the Burger King. But if anyone asks you, are you in Burger King, you'll be able to tell them, no, we left.
Thank you. Thank you for playing that again.
What was the effect of that clip?
I guess the number one thing people said was, oh, I feel like they felt more relaxed about the whole thing. They said I was pulling my hair out with Brexit until I saw that, and then I was like, oh great, I can laugh about, you know. And a lot of people said it was a really clear explanation of what was going on.
Yeah.
In a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
It was people were like, oh, I get it now. Yeah. But it's actually just before I went on stage then, my friend who runs the show, he said, oh, don't do any stuff on Brexit. I said, why not? He goes, oh, everyone's fed up with it. They don't want to hear. I said, yeah, that's why I'm here. Like, you know, that's the point. Exactly. It's like, yeah, everyone's fed up with it. Which was the point of the bit. It was like, exactly. You know. But
what was the, it seems to me, from things you wrote on Twitter, that you had problems with you know, getting gigs, isn't that right, afterwards?
It's not necessarily about problems getting gigs, it's just like, there was nobody seemed to care. There was no offers of work, there was no like, oh, here's a great piece of comedy that people will enjoy, let's put it in front of more people. I mean, the only people, I was only offered one piece of work, which was from the Brexit Party themselves. Oh, really? They were the only people.
What did you do for...
I performed that at a rally in Shoreham-on-Sea for them, it was great. But, so they saw it and they were like, oh, this is funny. Let's get this in front of people. Let's let more people see this. So they were the only people out of the whole, everyone that works in comedy, everyone who's supposed to be in charge of getting good comedy in front of the British public. You know, no one was interested in getting that piece of comedy in front of the British public.
Yeah. This is the point. When I saw it, it was just very funny. But at the same time, you thought, I never ever see a routine like this on the TV. Never.
Right.
I mean, that is true, isn't it? I mean, you wouldn't.
You won't. It's like, but it's like if you watch the television, you rarely see anyone on there that thinks Brexit is a good idea. Or if you do see someone that's on there that thinks Brexit is a good idea, they're playing the sort of pantomime villain. I mean, you'd think that, from watching the television or the radio, you'd think that nobody wanted to leave the European Union. You'd never guess that. Over half the country voted for it, and maybe even more now think it. But from watching the TV or the radio, you'd never guess that.
Why do you think that is? I mean, as a
I'm not in charge. No. I'm not in charge of those sort of things. Like comedians often, we get in arguments about who gets the spot on television. Like, why isn't there more comedians like this on television? Why isn't there more? Well, I don't choose who goes on television. I just tell my jokes. And if they decide that I go on television, I go on television. So it's hard for me to know why they're picking this person or that person, or they don't want this type of comedy, or they do want that type of comedy. I don't get involved. I'm not in the meetings. I don't know why. No. But you and I can both recognise So there is no pro-Brexit comedy anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's not funny. I mean, it's over half the country that think like that. Why don't they get some jokes? Why does every joke have to be about how great the European Union is? We can't have any about how, you know.
But the point being as well is that you could vote Remain and all the rest of it and still find it funny. I don't see what the problem is, you know. I mean, you can still find, oh yeah, I recognise the situation that you describe, you know, you could do that. It just seems to me that
it was fairly neutral.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't, you know, oh, we've got to get out of the European immediately. It was just, what's going on is slightly ridiculous, isn't it? And everyone was like, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That was all it was.
But the reaction of the audience, the laughter, was one of recognition, I thought.
Yes,
I mean, a huge
absolutely.
laughter, you know.
But in the same set, that was a 10-minute new material spot at a comedy club called Top Secret.
Yeah.
In the same set, I'd done a joke about a minute before about having a second referendum, and the audience applauded that.
Yeah,
and then I did the opposite politics, and the audience applauded that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was playing both sides of the argument. I wasn't excluding anyone, but you never get told that part of the story. It's you know, I'm out there doing comedy for people that, whatever you think,
yes.
I want you to enjoy the performance.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you don't think, therefore, that they pigeonhole you thinking, oh, this guy, therefore, is a right-wing comedian or this or that, you know. Is that a...
If you're in the centre,
yeah.
you will become a right-wing comedian. Because
Right, okay.
comedy's moving so far left. If you're anywhere near the centre,
Yeah.
everyone in comedy's looking at you going, oh, this person's far to the right of me.
Yeah.
So if you just remain where I am, in the centre, they'll say that you're a right-wing comedian. So I guess I am a right-wing comedian by being in the centre.
Yes, exactly. You see, the thing is, I find that there are things like those panel shows on the
Yes.
radio, BBC, there's a lot of them, the news quiz and what have you. And then also, you know, Have I Got News for You?
Yeah.
And they seem to be pretty much now, they have exactly the same approach. And after a while, you just stop watching.
I used to love Have I Got News for You. I used to watch that all the time. It was great.
But I sort of find, well, actually, why should I laugh at you when you would so disapprove of me, if you know what I mean? You know, they
Yeah,
you know,
I
almost like
understand.
they don't want my laugh. You know, they don't want, so they're not going to get it.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, it's that sort of attitude of like, whenever you come from an angle of we're so right and you're so wrong,
Yes.
and here's why that's funny, no one's going to laugh at that.
Yeah, yeah.
But just as a comedian, I think you have to take that into account.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to come. I'll try not to be like, this is the right way to think. You must all agree with me, because you're going to lose everyone in the audience that doesn't agree with you. And it's Friday night. You know, they came out for a good time as well.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't like to put too much politics into comedy, because
Yeah.
it's not fair on people that might not agree with you, unless it's so funny that they can laugh at it anyway. And then that's where you want to be, really.
But you said that comedy generally is gone, you know, even further left, would you say?
Well, I think politics overall in the UK is leaning to the left. Or not that that's where popular opinion is, but if you look at institutions and the TV and the radio, it's the dominant culture has swung to the left. And if that keeps continuing, comedy will die completely.
Yeah.
It's like go to North Korea and open up a comedy club and watch what happens to you. Right? If we keep going that way, comedy's going to die. And I'm sort of out there going, hey, you know, I think comedy might be dying. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? It's like, okay, let's pretend that it's not. But it is.
I think one thing is, it seems to me that it's much more fragmented.
Yeah.
I mean, you know...
But it's not as good as it used to be.
No.
The Office
It
was fantastic.
Yeah.
If you walked into the BBC with The Office today, they'd shoo you out of there.
But why?
Because it would be too politically incorrect.
Right, okay.
There'd be jokes in there about racism. Oh, no. Because the character, David Brent, was slightly like, you know, he was off colour on everything, wasn't he?
Oh, yes.
He was always mentioning racism in the worst way. But that's what we liked about it, is that drew attention to that character.
Exactly.
Everyone was like, oh, I know someone like that in my office who was slightly sexist, slightly racist, and he didn't realise it. And it sort of, it made people more cognizant of other people's feelings and stuff. The Office was brilliant, but we're too scared to hear comedy like that these days, I think.
It's true, isn't it? I mean, it's a bit of a cliche maybe, but alternative comedy became the comedy establishment, didn't it?
What do you mean by alternative
Well,
comedy?
in the 1980s, they used to call it, trust me,
Right. Okay.
they used to call it alternative comedy. There was a time,
Right.
and apparently there was a real decision made. There was a time where suddenly old style comics disappeared. When I say old style, I mean
right.
people who would command a big audience started to disappear, and then a new, it was Ben Elton, it was people like that around about I think the mid to late 80s, always anti-Thatcher.
Right.
Very, very Thatcher. You know, they only had to say the word Thatcher, they get a kind of boo and a laugh and the rest of it. But well, maybe not him, but they are pretty much the establishment now, aren't they? I would have thought, those people.
I guess so. I think the thing with comedy is it's sort of self-policing. Like, I think people in general have got a lot smarter. Like the type of jokes that people would do 30 years ago.
Yeah.
That were just sexist. But if you go and do sexist material at a comedy club, people will stop laughing and they'll boo at you, and you won't get booked again. So it sort of polices itself, comedy. Like if you're saying stuff that really is offensive to an audience, you won't work. They won't book you back again. It's, you know, you'll end up on Twitter with 1,000 retweets about what a horrible person you are. So it is sort of self-policing comedy, I think.
Is it possible to make a good living if you're not going to be on the telly or the radio?
I think so.
It is.
I think so. I mean, through the internet. I mean, there's things like Patreon. Well, not so much Patreon anymore. They went evil. But subscribe. Oh, I know. Subscribe. So I said, well, there's ways that people can send you money every month if they approve of the content you're making. So you can make a living just putting content out there. I mean, that's my plan. They're obviously never going to.
Are you doing that at the moment?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's working for you, is it?
Well, it's difficult to build an audience on social media if they've decided that you're right wing or centre or anywhere. If they've decided that's who you are, your content won't be seen by many people. Right. And you know, there's ways for them. It's quite skewed at the moment, the internet. Like that Burger King video that you showed. I don't have as many views as the people that have ripped it off and removed my watermark and stuck it on the internet. So other people are benefiting from that video more than I am. And I've complained and I've asked them to take it down and nothing's happened. You know, so I was at a point where if you typed in Burger King Brexit, you didn't get my video. Straight into Google. It's like, I'm the artist, I created that, I uploaded it myself. I even watermarked it with my name. Does it come up with me if you search for it? No. And the national press that picked it up and did a story about me spelt my name wrong the same way.
Really?
On every article. I mean, my name's watermarked through the video. How did you? You're a journalist and you got that wrong. And they didn't get it wrong. I think they do it on purpose. So if you type that in, you can't find me. So every avenue that you could find me from that video, you can't anymore. Like they've made it as difficult as possible for people that enjoyed that video to actually find me, to the step of removing my name from it and then re-uploading it. Because there's only one reason why you'd do that, which is to hide my name.
Well, look, before we go any further, actually, therefore, where can people go and see you performing? You know, your YouTube channel, or
my YouTube channel, which is Alistair Williams Comedian, ALISTAIR. And the nice thing is that has my YouTube channel doubled in size in one day yesterday. So the amount of support from people has been brilliant. But I've had a number of people contact me again, showing me that they type in my name into Twitter and they can't find me. And exactly what my name is, and it's not showing up. You know, it's people that contacted me going, you know, it's almost impossible to find you. You know, it's not easy to build a following, but you still can.
No, there's a lot of squeezing going on the internet, isn't there? There's no question about that. You started off, you weren't a comedian, you were actually in advertising.
Yes.
Right? What were you doing in advertising?
I worked in digital advertising sales, so in the video games industry.
All right.
So, and I loved that because I used to love video games. Yeah, it was great fun, but I was media sales, that's I guess what you'd call it. Right.
So, big switch. So what were you doing? Were you doing stand-up while you were working still?
Yes, I started doing stand-up in my spare time, which is the way if you want to make anything that you love your job. If you just start doing it in your spare time, just try and make some money from it. Try and make £20 from it. And then try and make more money from it. And then at some point, you're going to make enough money from that where you can be poor if you want to do it for a living. And then if you're brave enough, you make that switch, and then before you know it, you end up, you know, doing what you really love all the time.
And the audiences that you, for example, take the Edinburgh Festival, you're going to be doing that again this year, right?
Yes.
How big are these audiences? I mean,
my room holds 80 at the Edinburgh Festival.
Right, okay.
And I love the Edinburgh Festival because it's an opportunity to do comedy for an hour, you know, every day, which I love. So I always go there every year. I have the same room, 8 o'clock, just a tonic, up the stairs. Just getting a plug in there. And it's started to reach a point where the same people come back every year, so I'm starting to get a sort of regular audience. So I don't think I'll ever stop doing that. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Do you go to the Edinburgh Festival? You like it up there?
Not for years.
Not for years?
Not for years.
It's an arts festival, right? You're an arts guy.
I have. I guess I have been, but I haven't been for years. You profess not to read your reviews, right? So you really don't.
No.
So, not tempted at all.
I did a show called Food 2 years ago, which was all about the food.
I was going to ask you about this. This is one of your
Right.
big. You're quite a campaigner here, aren't you?
Yes.
For real food.
Yes. It's
Why?
simple as that. Because I started eating real food, just food that grows. I call real food anything, fish, vegetables, stuff, anything that grows that was alive. You can eat as much of that as you like, and you don't put on any weight at all. So if you're eating food, you can just eat food all the time. You don't ever have to go on a diet. And that was the point of this show. It was just explaining to people how if you actually start eating real food the majority of the time, you don't need to worry about anything else. You don't need to go on any diets.
But that's very specific. Why? What started you on?
I saw a documentary. I saw a documentary called In Defence of Food, which was by a guy called Michael Pollan, who's an author, and it was tremendous. It really demonstrated the healing properties and how good it is for you to eat what you're supposed to be eating, as opposed to processed food or packaged food. And another documentary called Cowspiracy, which was about the impact that processed food has on the environment. Just walked past.
Shockingly right wing of you, Alistair.
I know, it sounds. I used to be left wing until they threw me out, right? And now apparently I'm on the right. Okay, fine. But there was such a backlash against this show.
Yeah.
People were mad at my show.
Yeah.
They were going. The lady that came to review it in the final of a competition.
Yes.
So I got to the final of the "Is this the best show in Edinburgh" competition, and she put, "Alistair Williams is thin. Should we really be listening to him about what to eat?"
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, if you want to be thin, like,
but that's just moronic.
I don't understand. Yeah, she was like, I don't understand what the show was about. It's like, it's about food. It's called Food. Like, I don't know how you got the wrong end of the stick on this. And so at that point, you just sort of tap out and you go, you know what? I'm just going to deliver this direct to people. I didn't get a single complaint from anyone that came to see the show. They were all like, "This is great. You've really helped me. Thank you." I've had loads of people contact me saying it completely changed the way I eat. Thank you so much for doing the show. But then the only person that reviewed it just goes, "Oh, this guy's thin. Ignore what he's saying." It's like, okay.
It's just
I don't know. Yeah, it's so bananas. You don't know how to.
Absolutely so.
Yeah.
One of your shows was called. It might still be A Great White Male. Is that right?
Great White Male.
Not quite.
Yes.
There's something to do with sharks in there, isn't there?
There was a large bit of material about sharks on there, which is one of the reasons I went with Great White Male. But yeah, that was a controversial show. The point of the show, I guess, was how people could all get on with each other.
Yeah.
And how we could try and put race aside in this country and all get on better, which of course the media came and said was racist. I don't know how they got there, but they managed it. It was so bizarre. Like, if you go out there and try and do something good, if you really do set your mind to doing something good, people just try and destroy you. Literally.
But do you manage to brush it off?
Yes,
I
of
mean,
course.
Do you think, whatever?
People would come up to me in Edinburgh and they'd be like, "I've got a problem with your show." I'd be like, "Okay, what's it about?" They go, "I don't know, I haven't seen it." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you were at all concerned? You might have lost your mind. Like, why are you mad?" And they would just those three words in a row, great, white and male, was enough to send some people over the edge.
Yes.
To the point that they were mad at me, protesting, "Oh, this guy needs to be stopped." It's like, you don't even know what the show's about. You haven't even seen what I'm saying. Exactly. You've decided you're against it. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I called the show that. Just to point that out. To shine a light on, like, we've reached the point where we're not even listening to one another.
The thing is, you see, I know you don't read your reviews.
I don't.
I, on the other hand, have read.
Oh, go on, hear me. This will be great. You can see the pain live.
No. But basically, one of the reviews actually said that you were quite woke. So it says actually, no. Basically, they were saying this is not, this guy is actually quite even-handed, or whatever.
That's when I did the Brexit rally. I think they were quite surprised that half of my jokes were about the amount of countries that Britain's gone to war with, and you know, half the jokes are actually poking fun at British people ourselves and saying, you know, we might not be as great. Like, this is a great country. If you go to, you know, some countries in Africa and say, isn't Britain great? They go, no, we don't agree with that at all. Like, we used to own this place, you know. So yeah, I like to, because I listen to people that have a different opinion about Britain that live here. It's not just my own opinion. I try to listen to people that think differently to me, and I try and move my opinion closer towards theirs. I think that's how you get a more nuanced opinion on an issue. You listen to someone you disagree with and you try and find a middle ground with them. So, I mean, that's what I'm trying to do.
Where did you grow up then?
Croydon.
Croydon, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I grew up in Croydon, which is a great... And I don't live too far from there now. I live in Balham, which is like just South London. That's where I've lived my whole life, really. Oh, okay. It's nowhere too exotic.
But, you know, did you watch, when you were a kid or when you were a teenager, did you watch, who did you watch? Who made
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy?
Eddie Murphy was the first comedian that I really thought, wow. He had some jokes about McDonald's, it was. About how the guy's laughing, everyone remembers that. It was about how he would ask his mum for McDonald's and she'd tell him, oh, I'll make you McDonald's and it'll be better than McDonald's. And he believed it. He was like, better than McDonald's, and then the green peppers come in and you're like, what? And I remember watching that thinking, my mum does the same thing. The exact same thing. And all of a sudden I felt like a connection to Eddie Murphy, and I always remember that. And it was people like that I really enjoyed watching when I grew up. It wasn't really British comedians.
You see, I find that very interesting because most comedy that I laugh at, particularly now, tends to be American. Actually.
Right.
When I was there, when I lived there, I made a program about Chris Rock on TV. I found hilarious. But there's a difference in the structure of their comedy, isn't it? It's the one-liner. That's essentially quite American, isn't it, do you think? It's the one-liner as opposed to... Our traditionally British comedy was kind of anecdotal almost.
I'm not sure. I think American comedy has become much better than British comedy because they're not afraid to talk about whatever they want to talk about. Yeah. People in this country are very afraid to talk about a number of things.
It's freer still, do you think, in America then?
Yeah, they've got the First Amendment, freedom of speech. Speech isn't anywhere near as free in this country as people like to think it is. You start saying the wrong things, the price for telling the wrong joke is the police knocking your door. Hello, Mr. Williams. I'd like to talk about a joke you told last night. That's real. And other comedians tell me, I've lost it, oh, you're making it up. It's like, no, you can go and... Everyone knows this. This is an observable fact. Like there's a poster that terrified me. It's by Her Majesty's government. It said, it's not offensive, it's an offence. That's the whole advert. It's on black on white. It's not offensive, it's an offence. It's like, I'm a comedian. You're telling me if I offend someone, I might go to prison? It's almost impossible for me to work here, isn't it? Under those circumstances. Bear in mind, anyone can take offence to anything.
But it means surely, doesn't it, that your audience as well is going to be thinking, can I laugh at this? Should I laugh at this?
But I don't mind. I see a lot of... I disagree with a lot of comedians when they say things like, oh, I should be allowed to offend people and I'm going to offend people, and it's like... I don't think we should be all walking on eggshells. No. But in front of you is eggs. In front of you is an audience of people that don't want to be offended, so you can't just get your tennis racket shoes on and start stomping over everyone and think, well, I'm allowed to. Sure, you're allowed to, but these people want to enjoy themselves. It's Saturday night. It's your job to entertain them. So I try and, not offend people if I possibly can. I think it's possible. You can still make a lot of people laugh. Like that Brexit bit won't offend anyone. I've not had anyone who's like, I'm offended, even if you completely disagree with it. You can still have a laugh at it, hopefully.
I mean, one of the themes that keeps coming up in discussions I've had on this show with people in different areas is the growing influence of identity politics, which is what I think really in a way we're talking about here, isn't it? I mean, surely the whole point about a lot of comedy was pointing out the absurdities, pointing out this, that and the other thing. And if you're worrying all the time, that basically I can only say this because I am a straight white male or whatever it is, then you can forget it, surely, can't you, creatively?
The problem with political correctness, identity politics, if you think about it, it's the direct enemy of comedy.
Yeah.
It must be. It's like you're not allowed to joke about this, you're not allowed to joke about that. You've got to, don't offend anyone, don't talk about this, don't talk about that. But having said that, I think, you know, there's been positives to identity politics. I think people are a lot more, or they're trying to be a lot more understanding of what it's like to be someone else and live in this country, you know, so there's positives to it. But for example, when I did Great White Male, I would have people come up to me after the show. I mean, I was critical of identity politics, very critical, you know, and people would come up to me afterwards and they would be visibly scared to say, oh, I totally agree with you. Keep going. I'm like, why are you scared? Like, they're scared to talk to me. How scared should I be? I'm the one, you know, they're scared to be loosely associated with someone that's saying, hey, maybe this has all gone a bit too far. You know, because at some point it has to push back. As we were saying before, you can't just keep going with you. And also, the general public don't like to be told what they can and can't talk about, what they can and can't laugh about, what is offensive to them. As I said, comedy's self-policing. If you offend an audience, they'll let you know straight away. They'll let the world know.
Yes, interesting that. Yes, because these reviews you don't read.
Yeah.
They're written by people who are presumably on the whole. But they're not. They haven't been stand-up comics, have they? I mean, you know, they're nothing to do with it. They're just simply giving their opinion. I mean, there's no expertise there exactly, is there?
No, and you can see some brilliant comedians, some utterly brilliant British comedians that have gone to the Edinburgh Comedy Festival, and someone that's never done comedy comes along and says, "Oh, this is a 2-star comedian." It's like, this guy's been setting stages on fire for a whole year, for his whole career, and then someone comes in and goes, "Oh, 2 stars out of 5," and then we're supposed to just bury them. That's not fair. It's not accurate either. A lot of the times, you go and watch a show and the comedian, everyone's laughing for 52 minutes, and then the review comes out and it'll be like, "Oh, average." It's like, says who? You know, and I think, again, we don't, why do we need comedy critics? Everyone can watch the comedy and just say what they think about it. You know, it's clear whether people are laughing or not. Why do we need someone to tell you what you might think is funny? We don't. And that's what annoys me about that.
You strike me as someone who doesn't usually kind of deconstruct your craft, if you know what I mean. I don't know. Right. But, well, I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
That's a low-key burn there.
No.
You strike me as someone who doesn't think about things at all. Great.
No, but I mean, well, I suppose that's because I'm aware of asking what might seem pretentious questions.
Yes.
If you're putting together a show, one man stand-up show, and it's maybe about food or whatever.
Yes.
That whole process of putting that together, how long does that take you?
Oh, a whole year. A whole year of constant work. You know, and by the time the Edinburgh Festival finishes, you've done that, you know, 30 times in a row every day. So it should be pretty well polished by the time you finish. But it takes, if you look at the best comedians in America, it takes them on average 2 years to produce an hour of comedy. Really? Every comedian in Britain is going to the Edinburgh Comedy Festival and producing a new hour every year. So you've only really got 6 months to write it. I mean, that's not enough time at all. And you go up there in August and you produce this crowd, and also it can't just be funny. That's not the way Edinburgh works. You have to write about the most horrendous thing that's ever happened to you. Like, did a relative die? Do an hour on that, you know? You know, have you got a horrible disease? Maybe that's what you should be trying to make fun of. So, and then you've got to do it again the next year. I mean, it's almost impossible. But, you know, that's just the way the UK comedy industry works.
When you're in Edinburgh this coming August,
yes.
Right? What's the name of the show?
How to Lose Weight and Be Less Racist.
Okay. Okay. And what about...
Already, people are mad at me. Do you believe it?
But what in betweeny time, where you know, we're coming up to June. I mean, this is going out around about May. We're going out on May 26th, I think,
yes.
Sunday. Where can people see you in June, say?
In June, the best place to see me in June is at the London Comedy Store.
Right, okay.
I think it's the 6th, the 7th, the 8th of June, or that Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's one of my favourite places to perform comedy. Yeah. It's maybe the best comedy club in the UK, the London Comedy Store. Right. It's up there with Top Secret, number 1 and 2. It's interchangeable. So that would be the best place to see me in June. and then if they follow my YouTube, I'm going to have some big announcements coming next year for what I'm going to do.
Really?
In terms of live shows, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
I think the future of comedy in the entertainment industry is people doing it for themselves. The same way we're doing right here.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I think that's what people want.
Thanks for coming on, Alistair.
Thank you.
And I really all
great.
the very best. And I, and I hope you have just great success in the future.
Thank you.
And maybe you come back, in a few months' time.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And thanks for watching. So what you're saying is, and please do subscribe if you haven't already. And we will see you next time. Thank you.